to do today was it's a bit of a follow-up to our presentation that we had done a couple weeks ago, but there's some that weren't on that presentation, so it's going to be a bit of a recap with the purpose of getting into looking at what the trial period will entail, and just show, we'll pull up the actual site and talk a little bit about what's going to be made available, and how Quadra and Earth, as well as Smart Maintenance and Tom Walton, will be there to support you during the trial. So I have Tom Walton on the phone with me as well, and Mike Dandy, who is the product representative for Quadra. So just really quickly recapping why Quadra was built, I'm going to just maybe turn it over to Tom. Tom was the one that had, initially created what is now Quadra in a different product. So I'll just maybe turn it over to Tom, and he can talk a little bit about, why he had a need to create a quoting tool, maintenance contract quoting tool in the first place. Tom?
Yeah, thanks, Todd. So the thing in looking at all the power and functions and features of this program, which you're going to discover, and I'm not sure, Carlos and Tim, if you were on last week, but you're going to discover it's a very feature function rich program, and the capabilities of it are unmatched. At one time I had a comparison between the different software out there, and there's really, truthfully, when you compare it feature to feature and function to function, it's just so advanced. But I didn't originally come up with a software strategy for the purpose of building a really neat program. I came up with it because my salespeople, and this would be 1992 is when I first realized we had an issue in the market. Our salespeople were going and making a proposal on maintenance, and they would come in at 50% higher price, 30% higher price of the competition. The competition, would be below us, and the perception of the client, the building owner, manager, whoever, director of operations, is that I'm getting the same thing for less money. I'm getting the same scope of work, and no matter what I worked with the salespeople to do, they really couldn't offer a logical, rational description of why our price being higher represented a higher scope of work. So that's why I built a program that is now called Quadra. It was nothing like Quadra. It was just a facsimile of it. It was an early program, but its purpose was not to be a super duper maintenance estimating program. Its purpose was to create more sales and make more sales commissions for my salespeople. And at the time, as vice president of marketing sales of this company, I made a commission off of sales as well. So next one, Todd. A secondary point of importance, but very important, is maintenance. As you all know, I'm preaching the choir here. Maintenance is a base method to get to additional work. You sell the maintenance agreement, you want all the work that comes out of that, whether it be a compressor failure or even an entire unit replacement, on a package rooftop unit or whatever, So that creates a stickier customer. And so we were really trying to make it where it wasn't just the event of selling in the maintenance deal. It was going to be something that they trusted us better because we had a more exact maintenance estimating and planning software. We could explain to them exactly what they were getting, so they knew that the reason our price was higher is our scope was higher, and we could show them. In the case of Quadra, you can show them at what's called a task level and a subtask level, and therefore appreciate that if they want us to have a lower price and be equivalent to maybe a competitor that's even half our price, then we can do that, but we're going to do it by reducing task and times and scope. All right. So in response to people losing deals, this really what it came. I came up with the solutions. And just what I said earlier, we have to help the client understand that they are not getting the same scope as competition. Salespeople, some of them often now, particularly, are not technically minded. This can't be complex. They can't have to have the skill level of a technician to explain to a client the differences, the tangible differences between your price and your competitor's price. So it had to be simple. We had close rates just under 30% before we adopted this new strategy of helping a client understand scope and price are related to each other. And after we got good at doing this and we had the software to support us in it, our close rates for the whole company on maintenance went over 50%. And I had other contractors that I've trained over the years that have had the same experience. Some of them have gone much higher than that. We didn't get much over 50. Why did the close rate increase? It's real simple. The key word there is see. They could see how scope completely guides price. And we could be completely open book with them. They could see that the reason our price was the way it is all these tasks and times we were totally open book. And then when they looked at our competition that could not show them that transparency, they couldn't see it. They felt more confident that our price and our scope did indeed match. The other thing that you want to be aware of, you're not going to get your clients to sit in and build a complete maintenance plan using Quadra. It takes too long. You're going to build the maintenance plan back in the office, get it ready. You're going to go to the client and you're going to show them what you've built in the scope and the price. And then you're going to teach them while you're there how to direct you in adjusting the scope to meet their budget. And so right in front of them, they'll go, yeah, we're not quite there. You're going to learn that there's things you can do with tasks and subtasks. And the client's going to see that every time, in order for you to lower the price to a lower budget, you've had to remove something. They literally build their own maintenance. And we have a term, what they build, they buy. And that's what that is. And I think that's the last bullet, Todd.
So part of the challenges were that we found in the market was consistency between sales and operations. So operations knowing what exactly was sold, and so that we needed to develop a way to actually to achieve that, and we did that through, as Tom's indicated, the scope and matching scope for what's sold to what's being done in the field. We had to standardize pricing between salespeople. We didn't want to have multiple spreadsheets where cells could be manipulated. Salespeople could set different pricing or just lower price without touching a scope. Reducing the time between survey to sales. This is an important one that we didn't want our salespeople spending all day entering service contracts. If we're going to go out in the field and collect a survey of the equipment that's there, we wanted that to be integrated into the system so there was no duplicate entry of the values. We have a library of tasking that is accurate. It's been developed over the years, and the scale of it is pretty significant. And the advantage to that is that you're going to be able to work through all the different sizes and tonnages of equipment, see what is available in terms of the service that needs to be performed. But then you can also go in and adjust the servicing for the equipment based on a whole variety of criteria to sort of match, as Tom said, the scope to the actual client's expectations. You can, as we said, you can easily match the scope to the client's budget. And then again, the scope matches what the technicians are going to actually go out and do. So the technicians aren't going out with the expectation of doing an hour's worth of service, but being given 4 hours worth of work. Helps to eliminate the gross margin fade, because again, that's if you control the scope, you control what your gross margin is going to be. And then again, we pull through work, as Tom has alluded to. One of the big benefits is this real-time integration. So whether you're a technician or a salesperson, through our mobile app, you can either do surveys of the equipment that's in the field that gets automatically posted back to the office, or if you're going to have somebody go out and create a field quote for replacement of the 10-ton package AC unit, the technician could take pictures of it and have that sent back to the office for somebody in inside sales to do it. The goal here is to reduce the turnaround time from when you're asked to make a quote to when you actually get it to the client, because we know that increases sales, to streamline that sales process. So we're going to go through and look at these different elements. I mean, the one thing that we have just recently sort of completed is the API, which is the application program interface between our product and the XOI solution. So if you're using the XOI solution, you can take advantage of that through our product. In terms of our methodology and approach, this is going to be something that I'll try to cover in the demo. Hopefully you guys will see it and be able to ask questions, but contracts are based on the equipment that's actually in the field, the size, tonnage, etc. And then what we've got in our library is we've got a library of service work that's based on effort that you can then build up the time that you're expected to be in the field to align again with the client's budget. To reduce scope, we reduce service. That's plain and simple. And again, we try to clearly define the scope for the customers and the technicians. And we do have machine learning that's built into the product that will actually start to recognize over time. You know, if you're servicing a certain tonnage of equipment, type of equipment, we know what material, belts, filters, etc., is being used, so that the next time somebody actually is going to be quoting that, they can see what's been quoted in previous sales reps. And this helps with that knowledge transfer. You know, as you're bringing in new sales reps, they're going to actually be able to look at what previous reps have done. So that's a big advantage. And one of the big things that we hear all the time is that proposals need to be professional. I mean, this is that relationship you have with the prospect customer. So you need to have some flexibility in terms of how you go about creating your quotes. But again, we want to make it as easy as possible. So I'm going to jump over into the demo, and you know, again, if there's any questions that you have, please, I've got everybody is unmuted, so you can ask questions at any time or stop me. So first, what I wanted to just do is to point out that Quadra is a web-based application. So anywhere you can access the web, you can access Quadra, which makes it great for your sales folks that might be mobile, out of the office, working from home, which in today's current situation is advantageous. So any browser can access it, and it's controlled by username, password. So I'm just going to go through a bit of a process here and just create a service contract and talk a little bit about that process. And I'm just going to do similar to what we did last time. So this will be a demo for ICE Group. And we'll do that late customer again. So what you'll see here with the customer, I can do a number of things here. I can actually just start typing, and it's going to look within my database and say, hey, you've got a customer that matches that criteria, which is late. That couldn't be any simpler, right? The alternative here is that I could actually go and create a brand new customer. So if this was a prospect customer, I could just go ahead and create that prospect customer, get it into the system. In this case, I'm going to use an existing customer, right? So I pick the customer. And it pulls up the locations that are available, so I can go through and look and see, you know, what locations I have available. I can pick and choose and see that the customer's got a number of different locations. I'll pick that particular location, and what I can do is I can verify that that is the right location. I can look it up on Google Maps and see, yeah, that is the right location, or no, it's not. I'm going to pick a different one. I can look at the notes on that location, or I can make comments on that location. Or if it's, again, an existing customer but a new location that they have, you can actually just go ahead and create that new location. And it's going to pull through the details that I need. All I have to do at this point is give it a start date for my contract. So let's do July 1st and I'll just do July 1st of next year. So we'll do a 1-year contract. It's pulling through some information about, you know, what frequency do you want to build them at, what day of the month do you want to build them, which day of the month do you want to default the service work for, and then the region. You probably tell from my accent, we're Canadian, so I'm up in Ontario, so that's why it's pulled that in. Right now, there are no equipment records on this particular customer location. So the first thing that I'm going to do is want to enter that data. So I've got I've gone ahead and I can do it a number of different ways. I could add this particular equipment manually. So let's say someone said, hey, I've got, you know, 2 10-ton package AC units or 15 tons. So let's do you know, package AC, 15-ton east roof. I'm going to put a quantity of 2 in here. And then this equipment type is sort of one of the critical parts of our system that I think really helps to solidify sales. by having all of the detail in there about all of the different equipment records. So in this case here, I'm going to look up a package AC unit, and it's pulling in all of the different size tonnages that we have in the system for these package AC units. And what you'll see is that a 15-ton package AC unit will have maybe a different amount of service or effort associated than maybe a 150-ton. So we clearly differentiate those two. I could go in and put in the additional information, but it's really not needed for the purposes of what I'm doing. And it's going to go ahead, it's added those two equipment records. So that was pretty simple. So if I just want to get a quick quote out the door, I can. The other thing that I can do is I could do an import. So if I had, we have very nice CSV Excel sheets that you can go ahead and build out your survey, so you can take it out in the field and do a survey and just do a simple import. So if there's 50 equipment records, you don't want to have to manually go through and enter that information multiple times. So I'm just going to go ahead and choose from a file here, and I can see that I've got a number of different ones. I'm going to pick that particular Excel file that I previously created, and I can create the make and model of manufacturer if it doesn't already exist. So maybe it's a new piece of equipment that I don't have in the system. And I go ahead and I upload it, and it says that there were 3 records that were uploaded. So in this case, I can see that I've got 10-ton package AC units, and there's a 15-ton. It's train, it's got the different make and model, et cetera, on it, because that was all embedded within that Excel spreadsheet that I created. So it's pretty simple to add. Now on the machine learning side, what you'll see is for this 10-ton unit, I've got an option here, say include material. So if I click this, what it's going to do is it's going to say, hey, here's the material, belts, filters, et cetera, that you previously had used on that particular piece of equipment. So here it's saying, hey, you've got a 4 pleated 16 by 20 high capacity pleated filters. You've 30% of the time you've used that particular filter. It's giving you an accuracy rating up here saying, hey, we've seen it on 5 previous estimates. So our accuracy rating is low, but I can still go ahead and say, yeah, I'm going to use that. And the more and more frequently that you create this equipment is added to contracts, you're going to actually see this accuracy rating go up. So you're going to be less concerned about, if you get new staff coming in, about them getting the right belts and filters on these equipment records. And I can look at the 15-ton unit, same idea, and I can actually say that, hey, again, I've got 10 previous occurrences, and these are the belts and filters that have been used previously on that particular size and tonnage of equipment. I can just go ahead and say, yeah, go ahead and add those to the actual contract. Another nice feature that we have is I've got this ability to do travel time. And so what this does is it looks at the default location for where your service is going to be deployed from or dispatched from, compares to the client location, and says, hey, it's 1 hour and 22 minutes. So I can actually just say, or 1.22 hours. I can say it's going to be 1.5 hours if I wanted to. And so what it's going to do is intelligently add that travel time adder to each month that you do service for that particular client. So I've got my records in here. I could go through and pick and choose which ones I want to include in the contract. And I'm just going to go ahead and create that service contract now. And what it's done is it's pulled in all of the tasking. So each piece of equipment that I picked, I'm just going to go look over here and see. So here's all within the system, all of the different task list associated with all the different equipment records. And when I look at any one of these equipment types, I can go in and see all of the tasking that's associated with it and the time we've allocated for each one of those units. And the advantage of that is I can now go through and see, hey, this correction service, I was doing like a guaranteed maintenance contract, we've got it set up to be 3.3 hours. The emergency diagnosis is 2.83 hours. And you can say, well, I don't want to do that on this particular contract. This is going to be just a standard contract. We're not doing guaranteed maintenance. So the reason it's pulled in is it's defaulted on all of the task lists, but I can easily get rid of those. And so I can see the total hours for these 5 pieces of equipment is 89.96 hours, which is pretty specific. But that's based on just adding up all of this effort associated with all the different equipment records. What I'm about to show you is sometimes a little bit tricky to get your head wrapped around. So if you don't necessarily get it right the first time, that's why we have a lot of training that we'll do just to make sure that you get comfortable with it. But once you get comfortable with it, it's pretty powerful. So I've got this grid set up to show me, each task code, for each type of equipment, the hours, etc. What I can do is just quickly do something like this and say, hey, I want to remove the equipment ID, the equipment description, and let's say the hours from the view itself. And what it's going to do is it's changing the view. And why do I do that? Well, because what you can see now is that for this correction or for this emergency diagnose, I've actually got 3 occurrences of that because I have 3 15-ton package AC units. So if I want to quickly remove that correction and emergency diagnose and maybe some other items, I can just say, hey, do not include. And you can see the impact it's going to have on the hours. So it's just reduced the scope for this contract. If I say remove emergency diagnose, it's going to have the same impact. So I can go through and start easily removing the different items on here to get it to a point where I like it. So I can then say, hey, I'm not going to do the advanced evaporator service. I'm just going to remove that particular service. And again, it brings my hours down. Maybe we can sort of remove the cooling primary. And that's all on my 15-ton. As I scroll down, I'm going to start to see here's my 10-ton. I could actually do all of this correction at once. If I just remove this task code in my list, I could actually see all of the correction items and emergency diagnose and simply just go through and quickly remove them. So at this point, I just want to pause for a second and just say, hey, are there any questions that anybody has? I know this is a little bit tricky, but the idea is we want to make sure that your sales reps have a way that they can quickly adjust the scope of these contracts, either to match the customer's budget or to sort of match specifically, that equipment doesn't need to be serviced as frequently or more frequently. So I'll just sort of pause there and just sort of see if there's any questions that you guys have. Okay. So one of the things that we want to look at as well is, when I identified with that equipment, what material. So it's actually pulled in all of the material associated with that. So here's I can see when I need that filter, so I can notify purchasing and say, hey, we got to make sure we order filters for the July service, the October service, etc., because we're going to go and do the filter services at these times, and this is the quantity that I need. And then I can see my travel time in there as well. So here's some additional filters for the 15-ton unit, the belts that I need, etc. So it's all in there, makes it really easy to correlate between when I'm doing my service work and what material I'm going to need. A couple of other things I'll just show fairly quickly is, if you wanted to change, for instance, the frequency. So let's say this filter service for the 15-ton unit, let's say they actually wanted to change that frequency. Instead of doing it quarterly, once I've got 4 services that are happening in April, January, October, and July, I could change the frequency of that and say, hey, I want to do that particular service. I only need to do it twice a year, right? So I'm going to schedule it for twice a year in January and July, and I can adjust. It's just warning me saying, hey, when you changed out that task, you had filters associated with it, so you better go back and make sure you got the right filters on there for the right time. But it's just going to adjust the frequency of those tasks, and again, it's going to adjust this effort and scope, right? So that's the beauty of how you can go ahead and manage. I could change the skill level, or let's say in January, for instance, I said, hey, whether it's weather related, I need to add a 10% factor to adjust or compensate for something. So I can just easily adjust the factor for all of the service within a particular month. And once I've got it to a point I like, I can do a quick summary and look at this bid summary and say, hey, here's all of the detail that's making up that contract. So this is a really powerful screen. And we actually have clients that will share with customers and say, hey, this is where we're at. I'm not going to hide that I need to make a gross margin. I'm being very open and transparent with you. Not everybody does that, I'm saying, but some do. And they'll actually show them, here's what your inventory costs are, here's what the margin is, here's what the labor costs are, here's what the margin is, this is what the total contract represents within year 1, and then within year 2, I can see what the sales commission is, and there's what the total contract value is. We could adjust, and maybe the sales rep says, hey, I'm going to take a haircut on that, and I'm going to go with a 5% commission. Well, it's going to lower the overall contract value. So it's a really powerful tool for adjusting. I could adjust anything I want in here. I could adjust the gross margin and say I want to make 45%. And it's going to automatically go through and recalculate, recalibrate everything. So this is a really powerful tool. I mean, this is as close to Excel as I've ever seen with any software system. But the other thing that you can do is if you do have guaranteed maintenance contracts, I could actually just flip this into a guaranteed maintenance contract and go through and start adding different factors that's going to automatically adjust the contract to be a guaranteed maintenance versus a standard contract. I'm going to flip it back here. So what we were going to also talk about here, I mean, one of the critical things that I mean you'll get to enjoy with Tom is actually looking at the SAP or the contract documents that you can send your clients. So we've sort of made concerted effort, and Mike and his team have really put a lot of effort into trying to create these quote templates in such a way that they're really versatile and user-friendly. So I've put in a number of different formats in here. So and this is just example. So I can say, hey, I want to see my contract, but I don't want to include all the subtasking. That's too much detail for this particular client. I don't want to see all the subtasks. So I can just go ahead and just download that document and pull it open here. And there it is. So, you have your logo here, a nice, cover page, who was prepared by, a little nice table of contents, a really nice welcome letter, giving them the highlights of some of the details. It's pulled all this information from the system, so you don't have to worry about typing it in. Executive summary, again, nice, clear, identify. And then here's the 10-ton units. Here's the service. Here's the month that I'm going to be out there. It's got a great summary for the client. Here we go. I've got everything I need in there. And then special provisions, terms and conditions. So really clean and simple quote letter. But if you wanted something, hey, I want to see something more detailed. I want to see something that's got, I want to show the subtasks, and I also want to show, I want to show them the excluded items. I want to be able to defend and explain why my contract is the value it is. It's because I'm going to say, hey, these are the tasks that we're not doing, right? We've removed from scope because they weren't needed. But we're going to show you that we've removed those from scope, so it's clear. So again, here's the contract letter, very same format. There's really, the only thing that's going to be different is when we get down to this section, it's like I'm including all of the subtasking. So again, here's my 10-ton units, here's the tasking, all the subtasking. Looks great, and I go through it, lots of detail. But then I've also said, here's some ones that I've actually removed, that emergency diagnosed I removed. Here's my 15-ton unit. Again, here's all of the, this cooling primary generator, I've removed that. So I'm just showing the customer that we've removed that particular service from the contract itself. I could even get into looking at, ones that they're going to include material. So I say I want to show a summary of all the belts and filters that were going to be included as well. So I can add that to my list as well. So the point that we make in this is that it's really up to you. You can have a variety of different formats. If certain clients want to see it a certain way, we can adjust and accommodate that to get it to a point where it's going to be really professional looking, but have the right amount of content that you're going to need to close these deals. I mean, that's what it's all about, is being able to show the customer something, explain to them why it's being done a certain way, and leading to more deals being closed. So we really try to empower the salespeople on this, to give them the tool that they need to go out and actually sell more. So the final step. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish up. I want to make a comment when you're through.
No, I was going to say the final step in this is, what we do is we have a really robust tracking system in terms of saying, hey, we know which contracts are quoted. We know what they're pending customer approval. So we've got a really nice set of reporting structures that you can look at to actually sort of see by salesperson, tracking what's being closed, what's open. But sort of the final step is once the customer sort of gets to that point where they're sent back a signed contract, it's just a matter of actually approving it, right? So once I approve this particular contract, I can then export it into any one of, whether it's a Jonas system or we're fully integrated with Key to Act. But we have a really nice API which allows us to actually extract all the data from that contract and then get it into or inject it into whatever your dispatch system happens to be. Tom, did you want to comment?
Yes. Carlos and Tim and anybody else that's watching this, you're gonna on one hand say, wow, this has got a lot of power. I mean, if there's items and features and functions that Todd hadn't shown you, believe me, it is feature rich. On the other hand, it's feature rich and you go, wow, this is mind boggling. I'm gonna have to learn this. And I wanna my job is always to bring it back down to why. I would never buy any software, any program, if it frankly didn't impact my business. And so, what the whole objective of this is to help a client understand that they have total control over their price, but that at any price variation is going to come with a very logical and ethical adjustment in price. And so this week, someone that you probably know, or if you don't, I'll tell you about them. The contractor that has been using this the longest in the ICE group is CSSI, Chiller System Service Inc. in Lakewood, Colorado. And their top sales rep there is a guy named Vandy. Maybe you've met him. He called me, I think it was Wednesday. Today's Thursday, right? No, he called me Tuesday this week. And he was asking a question. He'd created his plan, taken it to the client, showed it to the client both, primarily in the form of a service agreement proposal document, the SAP that Todd was talking about. And the client goes, yeah, I get it. I don't want this and I don't want that. And so he called me to ask me, how do you make that adjustment once you've created a price and shown it to a client? How do you easily do that? And we talked about that and got that solved. But I said it was involved, meaning that he went to the client said, yeah, that's not exactly the way I want it. And the client understood that, detailed task and times adjust the price, told him what he needed to adjust to, went back. And I said, yeah, well, how did it go? And he goes, well, I made the deal. The client bought it. So this week, having the ability to drill down on resolution of the scope, giving the client the ability to build their own agreement, direct Vandy resulted in the sale. So, my job is to emphasize you're doing this because you're going to increase your sales. I've seen this happen on every time people have used this software and this process with the client where they get to build what they want based on budget or otherwise. And so there is a learning curve, and I don't want you to be overwhelmed. You're going to learn it. It's like anything else. You're going to do it the first time. It's going to be Greek. The second time, it's still going to be Greek. But slowly, it's going to move to English, and you're going to get it, and it's going to be easy for you to use. But the whole point is, if it never got easy, it increases close rates, and that's absolutely a fact, and that's what you'll experience. So, any questions on that on the sales side? Carlos and Tim, are you there? We just want to make sure that. Go ahead, Tim.
Yep. Oh, Carlos got his hand up.
Go ahead, Carlos.
Go ahead, Carlos. Oh.
See, we're not hearing anything, and I'm not sure. Let's just do a sound check real quick, Todd. Let's Carlos, unmute your microphone and say hello so that we know that you can talk if you have something.
He has a mic issue, no questions just yet. So thanks, Carlos. Okay. I'm showing I saw Tim come online as well. So just to complement what Tom said, so to make sure that the learning is you're not getting bogged down, we've got a fairly comprehensive library of training videos that will help you understand how to go about doing anything, so you're not stuck. Mike and his team have a great group of people that can help with training and whatnot. But again, we do have a variety of videos that are available, so you can sort of self-guide through any of those different processes. So what I wanted to just touch on now is looking at the second part of this, which is the service call side. And the service call side is designed to be both a mobile app as well as an inside sales app. The idea here is that, we're going to be having technicians interact with us, whether the technicians are doing things like taking pictures and sending information back to the office, or whether or not somebody from your sales site is actually going on site. They could bring their computer, iPad, whatever it happens to be, and quickly produce a quote. So in this case here, I'm showing the screen as if I was, using my desktop. I can sort of just quickly flip it around here and show you what it would look like if it was, on your mobile phone. So this is kind of the first page you get when you log in. I could just do a quick search and look for a specific customer. Let's say I'm going to use that late customer again, and I'll see that, I've got 10 customers, got a variety of different locations. So I'm going to go through and pick the location I want. And from that, I can actually, in real time, I can see the equipment that's on that. So this is the contract we just created. I can actually see the equipment that's on there. I can actually go through and validate, make sure that it's I got that's on the west roof, and put some detail behind it. So I can go through and see that, which is a great feature, because this allows me to do a number of things. The other thing I can do with it, which is really powerful, is I can treat it like a survey tool, right? This could be a brand new customer, and I could just go ahead and say, all right, I'm going to come out and I'm going to survey, and I'm going to go through and identify the equipment. So I could put a description in, and let's call this one, SCH chiller. I'm going to put it in as an SCH. Let's say that it's a 20-ton. I could put the make and model in, and let's just put this in the utility room. I can put in as much information, serial number. I don't have it turned on. You'll take pictures of it as well, and actually see that added. Now I've just added that equipment record, so it's going to now be available if somebody's doing a survey or a contract. They could actually go ahead and add that to the contract. And so I have real-time integration back to the office. The other thing that's probably more common with this is I could actually go through and create a recommendation. So let's say there's whether it's a condenser that needs to be replaced, or I'm going to show you an example of we're going to do a replacement of a 10-ton package AC unit. It's the same process, and there's lots of advantages to how it works. So I'm going to, again, take that same customer, pick the address that I want. So I'll do, let's do ICE. I only got an ICE address in there. So there's a couple of the ICE addresses. I can put a description. We're just going to do a replacement of 10-ton unit. There are details that I can put in to say, hey, this is, the old unit is not worth fixing, repairing, whatever. So I can just go ahead and put in whatever information I want. I put the benefits. And then when I create the recommendation, it's all it's doing is saying, it's like a lead. Like your sales guy is now going to be actually, creating a lead. Or this could be your technician says, hey, I'm just going to start this off. I've got a lot of other work to do with this customer site. So what I'm going to do is I've gone through and created this. I'm going to snap a few pictures, and I'm just going to upload those. So I'm going to, if I had an actual iPhone, I'd be pulling from my pictures here. And I'll just go through and add some pictures. What I could do is take a picture of the faceplate, right? So, hey, I'm going to upload that faceplate so whoever's in the sales knows what knows what the faceplate is. I could take a picture of the actual unit itself. Maybe we want to show the customer and say, hey, yeah, here's the unit that needs to be repaired. I can zoom in and look at coils that need to be cleaned, whatever it happens to be. The advantage here is that your technician now at this point could be done, right? Go, I got to get on to my work, but I just notify. So I'm just going to notify the office, right, and say, hey. So now what I've done by doing that is I've sent an alert to a group of people, and you set up who that group of people is. But I would have just gotten an alert because I'm on that list, and there's my alert, right, that says, hey, here it is. You've got a new service recommendation. So I click on it, and it's going to bring me into the actual application. I can look at the pending recommendations, and there it is, replace the 10-ton unit. And I go, great, I can now start working on this from an inside sales perspective. Or I could have, if I wanted to, have been the salesperson actually in the field. I could actually have gone through and continue to start adding the items to replace it, whether it's a simple replacement of a compressor. I would just go ahead and say, all right, I'm going to look for a compressor and see what I've got in the system. And I've got this, I don't know, it's a compression fitting. It's I didn't maybe need that, I'd add that. I could also search for, maybe it's a condenser that needs to be replaced. Any item. And I'm just doing a quick type and search and saying, hey, here's the item that's on there, and then there's the price, and I could go through depending on what my security permissions are, and I could actually update that particular price. And it's going to add that, put in the default markup in. Again, all that stuff is you can control what's visible and what's not visible based on who the user is. But we wanted to show the example of saying, hey, I actually want to actually add a 10-ton package AC unit. So what I can do is I can actually create these packages. So what a package is it's a collection of material. So here's the condenser, compressor fitting. Here's my labor that I've identified. So I've built out what this package looks like in the system. And then I've got, maybe it's a 5 to 15 ton is a standard, and all you're doing is replacing. I'm going to put the 10-ton unit in. And when I add that 10-ton unit, it's also saying, hey, you're going to need to have a crane rented, and you're going to have additional labor. So it's going to automatically know to pull those in. The advantage is you can build out as many packages as you want. And when I picked that, it said, hey, there's a couple of questions that I've got for you. I need to know what the compression fitting size is, and I need to know how the fitting works. Just make sure I get the right parts that I'm going to order, and then I'm going to submit those attributes. And that's great, and I'm pretty much at the point where I could now say, hey, I'm completed, and I can actually see the details of that. And now I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to create the quote. And so the quote saying, hey, you've got actually 2 recommendations on this particular location. Which do you want to do both, or do you want to just one? So I'm just going to pick this one, replacement of 10-ton unit. So I can look at the details of it. I can go through and edit any of these that I want to change. Like maybe I need to add labor, I need to add different items to it. But really, I could be done at this point in time, or I could go through and tweak and add it. I can email it to the customer, and when I'm going to put my email address in here. Some nice features. When I go to email it, I can actually say, hey, I want to include a picture of the unit so the client can actually see why I'm recommending you make that change. In this faceplate, I go, the customer doesn't need to see that. That was more to make sure that Todd knew what to include when he was replacing it if it was a part. I could preview it. I could choose the template that I want to use for it. I can choose whether I want to go with a PDF or a Word document. I go with PDF. I could preview it, or I could just send it to the client. And now it's just sent. Email has been sent to the client. So it's a pretty simple process to go through. At some point, you're going to get it where hopefully the client then will approve it. And then once it's the process of approving it is pretty simple. You just provide the name, whatever, Todd, and then if you're in the field, I could actually collect the signature, and that's it. So I've gone ahead, and now once it's been completed, you've got options to actually go ahead and create a service call, which would be us linking up with whatever your dispatch system is, so it would get in there to actually create a service call and trigger your purchasing people to go ahead and make sure they're ordering stuff, etc. However that process works. But that's kind of at a high level what the service call quoting. So we've got the combination of this is a great survey tool, but it's also a great tool that your technicians can use to notify the office that, hey, I need you to create a quote for this. Or it could be your technician or your salesperson in the field actually creating a quote with the client right there. The goal is to get something out that's accurate, but get it out quickly so that again, we're looking to get more sales on this. So we're helping to increase close rates with pull-through work as well as with your service contract work. So at this time, I'll just sort of, again, open it up. And are there any questions about the service call quoting piece? Okay, so let's jump to the trial that we talked about. So what we proposed is that there's we're going to put our money where our mouth is and make sure that you guys have access to a trial. So we've created a site, and it's going to be this site here, the ICE Group site. Every member that participates in the trial will be given a specific username and password. And what that'll do for you is it's going to allow you to have to go through and test and create, play around with. We're going to let you participate in some training sessions. Have Tom help sort of explain the throes of why and how this is going to help include increased close rates. But you're going to get the library of, you're going to get the full library of tasking, so that, it comes pre-built, right? So I've got all of this tasking, equipment sizes, et cetera, that I've got in the system itself. You're going to have like 702 different equipment types and sizes available. So, really there's no limit to what you can actually go ahead and produce. We're really unlocking the system to make sure that you have full range to go through, whether it's a screw chiller, a scroll chiller, package AC units, air handling units, they're all in there. But you can go through and create some contracts and see how that works, see how it jives with your current systems, and then we'll have a couple of contract letters in there, so you can actually print some stuff out and see how that's going to look. And then we're available to provide some support and guidance as needed, so you're not doing this on your own. But we'll have some structured training sessions where we'll walk through and get you guys involved, and have a structured session with Tom where he can sort of take you guys through as well to get a better understanding of how the system's going to work. Tom, did you want to add anything?
Yeah. You're going to send them an email that has a form that they put in their username and password, and give you the labor rates they want their version of it to estimate at. Is that going to go out this week, or how are we going to do that?
That's going to go out either today or tomorrow, Tom. So we're just going to send it an email with an Excel sheet in it. You can provide us with some labor rates if you want to, so that when you're creating these contracts, the labor rates that you want to use for your charge out will match. So that hopefully we'll get a pretty good alignment with that. But you'll get the full inventory of belts, filters, et cetera, that's going to be in here. So it's going to be a complete system, ready for you guys to trial. And so that'll be going out today or tomorrow. And the goal is that sort of by mid-August, we would be, or early August, I should say, we'll have the system, the credentials set up and ready to go, and we'll have our first session for training. Any questions, guys? So Carlos, okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, so we can set up a call tomorrow, Carlos, to answer any questions. Carlos is saying he's having a bad connection, so we can certainly address your questions. If you want to, I'll send you an email, Carlos. We'll set up a time to talk tomorrow. Tim, did you have any questions? Okay, well, thanks for your time, guys. And like I said, we will follow up with an email to all the members that expressed interest, and look to set up that trial, and we'll start setting up some dates. It'll be in a similar format. We'll do it through Zoom for the training sessions that Tom's going to do and that I'll do. I look forward to working with the ICE members. So if there are no questions, I'll say thank you for your time today, and we'll look forward to working with you guys, and we'll be in touch shortly. So thanks everyone for your time.
Thanks, Todd.
Todd? Todd? Oh, he's gone.
Oh, I'm here, Tom. Sorry, I just muted myself.
No problem. I sent you Tim's and Carlos' email address. I would go ahead and send that, that trial email to them. feel free
Well,
to.
I'm gonna send it to everybody that was on the first session, and this session. And I'm gonna have, oh, Mike's calling me, hold on. One sec. Hey, Mike, can I call you back? I'm still on the comm still.